Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, bell notification button, follow, all those buttons that help you keep up with our episodes, especially because we're, live and doing live episodes. I know, it has been a minute. And the last one was just as disappointing as the last few have been. So hopefully
I need a good live episode, JJ.
I know. Hopefully it. Well, and you heard, I don't know if you heard, maybe you heard, they canceled Peripheral. They pulled back the fact that they were going to give it a second season. And yeah, so the last show that I feel like we really praised through and through, they've canceled now. So
thanks, Amazon, for nothing.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So yeah, but anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Ahsoka season 1, episodes 1 and 2. I've been looking forward to this show for a long while, ever since they had Ahsoka in The Mandalorian and then talked about it. And for me, overall, it didn't disappoint. There were some points of contention that I have with a lot of Star Wars these days, but I was pretty happy with it.
I'm happy that they released 2 at the same time.
Yes.
Because episode 1 wanted to make me rip, my eyes out. But episode 2 was really good.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm scared about now, though, is that they're going to do the same thing that I felt they did with Andor, where you get a couple filler episodes for the really big lead up.
Yeah.
Which I hope doesn't happen. But as far as overall, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
It's better than a lot of stuff they put out recently. So take the little wins where they're available.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, and I will say this, the one, the big gleam of hope that I have is that this showrunner is Dave Filoni. He's not directing all the episodes, but I think he's directing half of them. He directed the first one. He didn't direct the second one. But he's been the showrunner because, let's be honest, and here's my first, we'll call it beef with the show, is it's called Ahsoka, but it feels like so far Rebels season 4 or whatever hell the next season of Rebels is, only in live action. Like, that's what it feels like, and I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. And I even have no problem with the fact that they're not calling it Rebels, but that's what it feels like. Now, the good news is Dave Filoni is the guy that created Clone Wars and Rebels, both of which were amazing shows. Clone Wars took me a minute to get into because the first couple seasons were a little rough, to the point that Ahsoka even drove me nuts. Like, I couldn't handle her in the movie that they did that was a prequel to the Clone Wars. And then I struggled with her a little bit in the first few. But after that, as I've said a million times on this podcast, she's one of my favorite Star Wars characters, period. But she is by far and away my favorite of the new batch of characters since the prequels, after, you know what I mean, post prequels.
Yeah.
I love her. My only problem is I have her lightsabers somewhere that I need to hang them above me, but they're hard to hang because they're awkward because they got that samurai shape to them. So there's not like a hanger that's like, here, this is great. It's kind of awkward. So I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, I'm obsessed with Ahsoka. I think she's awesome. So I was really glad to see this. And I'm with you. The first season was slow, but I feel like it's got Dave Filoni pacing so far. Like, you might have a build-up episode, and then it's like, a holy shit, everything's going for a whole episode. And so we probably will see 1 or 2 more of the build-me-up episodes, but...
And it might have been the length, too, because, that first episode was pushing an hour.
Yeah.
And I was hurting by the end.
Yeah.
Because it was that build up and not really knowing where they're going, what they're doing. But I think what started my beef, we'll say that, what started the beef is, what was that script crawl at the beginning? That's not a Star Wars script crawl.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what?
It was going the right direction, right? It was scrolling up, but
Yeah.
I was. I
Yeah, it
didn't.
was interesting.
Is there some kind of legal battle going on at Disney where George Lucas wants to script crawl back?
I don't think so. And Clone Wars had script crawls in almost every episode.
Like that's a Star Wars thing, right? You don't feel like you're watching Star Wars unless you have it scrolling up, big yellow wide font going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I liked the fact that there was a script crawl, but the red was weird. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, what? That's kind of odd. And then I was like, I like this. This feels right. But it felt wrong too. Like it was just like, So I'm with you. I get that for sure.
Yeah, so that kind of threw me off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then we get into a little bit more. This is more of I think, a habit that I've seen from a lot of the Disney shows, but Star Wars has done it where they take these lovable characters, right? Ahsoka's very popular,
Sure.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a few others, and they make them kind of washed up or losers, or I mean, right now Ahsoka's just continuing this downward spiral of Obi-Wan wasn't a good master to Anakin. Look how he turned out. Anakin wasn't a good master to Ahsoka, so she's not going to be a good master to Sabine. And it feels forced and wrong and weird.
Yeah.
To where it's like, she's putting all this blame on Sabine, right, for not being ready or not doing this or not doing that. And like, I mean, her training, as we see from the Clone Wars, was anything but obedient.
Yeah.
And same with Anakin. It's like, what? I don't get that. But that seems like a very Dave Filoni thing to do, to kind of continue this trend, or this kind of path. I was like, this was your chance to break this bad cycle. And Ahsoka's the one to do it because she never finished her training. I'll lean into that.
Well, and I think the one thing that I am interested in, I hope that they really explore is, and they've started to talk about it, is the fact that Ahsoka is very good at bailing. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not when shit gets tough per se. She likes when shit's difficult, but when she feels like, it's almost like when she feels like she can't contribute or things aren't going the way that she feels that they should, like, then it's time to leave because she's going to let people down. Like, and I get, like, at the end of Clone Wars or near the end of Clone Wars, the original seasons, when she bailed, like, I was like, I don't blame you. That's some bullshit. You know what I mean? And it did create this interesting dynamic of this piece that we never had seen before when it came to Anakin, and how that led to him not having what he needed, is one more person that he lost, right, and let down, and so he couldn't, that continued driver of how he dealt with that. But the interesting flip side that Rebels showed us was what that did to Ahsoka, leaving him, and then the even worse realization when she finds out that he's became Vader, what that did to her, and the fact that she's like, well, I'm not going to do it again, and almost cost her life. You know what I mean? If it weren't for Ezra. So anyway, I hope they continue to explore. I thought it was very interesting that she called her Padawan at the end again, which was good. But the other thing that was another beef of mine, and then this is my last beef, everything else I loved, and that is that I felt like, and it kind of goes with one of the first ones, and that is, I like Rebels. I thought Rebels was a great show, and I loved Sabine Wren. I've talked about this on the podcast, but this isn't her show. And there was a lot that I was like, we are spending a lot of time with Sabine. And that's why I say it kind of feels like Rebels season whatever.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I am spending way more time with someone other than Ahsoka than I want to in her show. And I get it, and I'm hoping we don't have that problem, because there was this lead up, and I think Filoni felt like he needed to tie in that final scene of the animated version of Rebels and have that repeated, because we see that same scene at the end of episode 2 in this live action. It's almost shot for shot identical. You just actually hear the conversation versus see Sabine walking up to Ahsoka and then they get on the ship and go. Like everything's the same. The suit, so we see these first 2 episodes are the lead up to the end of Rebels as we saw it in the animated version. And there was the big time skip. Now we're caught up. So I'm hoping that now the only real focus is Ahsoka and Sabine as the master and apprentice, the mirror image of our villains. Because that's what I want. Like, I want that. One, because Ray Stevenson, Rip, is amazing. And I want to see more of his character a lot. Like, I loved Ray Stevenson, which I knew I would, but I loved him even more than I thought I could.
Is this the character that you were hoping for during when we did the teaser trailer?
It's not. This is in fact, it's the opposite of what I was hoping, because I was hoping it was like, but I also saw like, you saw the lines, which the map lines and shit were really cool. And now we see where they're going to meet and have that part of their conversation. I thought that was going to be directly from Rebels. My theory, which was way wrong apparently, but that was going to be the world between worlds that we saw during Rebels. And that's where they were meeting. But it looks like they're going to be meeting within that map area that we saw, because all those lines and shit are there. But I thought maybe he was some form of Bane, Darth Bane, which I thought would have been really dope. Or I thought maybe he was like going to be Jorah Seaboth, which is a cloned Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs Jedi that was part of because the Heir to the Empire trilogy of books had a cloned Jedi that it made him crazy. And his name was Jorah Seaboth. And I thought maybe he still could be kind of a version
right
of that within this universe, though. With Ray Stevenson passing away, I don't know, because it's going to be,
it's tricky.
This character can't continue on in the same way without Stevenson. You're not going to match his performance. So,
no, absolutely. So another thing that I don't want to say it was a real beef,
sure,
but that god awful lightsaber fight between Sabine and Ray Stevenson's apprentice.
Oh.
Like, I don't. It's almost like they went way back further than the 70s and made it worse. If you could believe that.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from trying to make these overpowered bad characters, right? These villains seem like they're unstoppable, but I hate how they nerf lightsabers. I'll say that. Apparently, you can get stabbed by one now and be completely fine. That's cool.
Sure.
But there were so many moments in there where it didn't make sense to have them face off.
Yeah.
Because Sabine should have got her shit wrecked and wrecked again and wrecked again.
Sure.
And that whole like wannabe Matrix move where she puts a hand on the ground and she's got one hand on the saber now. I was like, your saber's gone. Like the way this chick is hitting, she's sending that over the green monster in Fenway Park.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was sitting there, I was going, it just felt like it shouldn't have happened at that point. Especially since it seems like they're going to have some sort of meet up later. And I can get that, you want to push them back together, Ahsoka and Sabine, so they can be a team again. But it was like, someone's dying here, and it's not the apprentice.
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I thought they played it wrong, because we knew she was going to be outmatched. My problem with that is we have this whole set of scenes in Rebels where Ahsoka's training her, and more importantly, oh God, what's his face? The actual Jedi,
Kanan Jarrus.
Kanan was training her, and he's training her because she has the Darksaber to fight Maul, and I'm like, Maul's a badass. Like Maul's, you don't fuck with Maul. And so, but she holds her. Now, look, she does her whole thing, her Mandalorian thing, right? But like, she holds her own in situations where I'm like, damn, now she's had some training. What I would have preferred to see in this episode with that duel is an even match.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And have her, like, And look, there's a lot of people bitching and moaning that she got stabbed in the stomach, and I'm like, look, lightsabers are lightsabers. I think it's funny that her scar was like the size of a quarter. Like, to me, there's got to be a little more damage. And why would for me, like, if I'm fighting with a lightsaber, I'm not going in and out. I'm going in and out. Like, I'm going sideways with it, right? Because I know I'm going to cut through. And even that, I'm okay where she got stabbed ish, her surviving. But a lot of people are like, well, what about freaking God, now I can't think of his name, Obi-Wan's master, Qui-Gon. What about Qui-Gon? And I'm like, come on, guys, go back and watch it. He got stabbed in the chest. The fact that he lived to the end of that movie as long as he did, it's kind of a stretch, because that dude took it in the chest. She got it in the side. So maybe you hit a liver. Maybe it's close to a liver. But either way, you're cauterizing the liver. So I'm just like, okay, come on. I get it. I don't like it. I would have rather him like chopped off an arm, or
where's Old Faithful? You lose the right hand. That's what happens when you are in a saber duel that you cannot win. You lose your right arm.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah. And
I established canon.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan, but I'm not a huge fan of across the board people getting stabbed, because it doesn't make sense to me, the in and out. You know what I mean? Straight in, straight out. Like, why? You can do a lot of damage with it. You can cut through blast doors. Why would you just go in and out on someone? Like, that's stupid. So I have some issues there, but that's the least of my concerns. What I wanted though, is I don't want it to be so predictable that she's going to get her ass handed to her. We know she's a very capable fighter. And they made it seem like she was kind of holding her own, but we always knew she was going to get it wrecked in the end, because that's the way the story was going to go. But I would have loved to have seen it been more of like a duel where it's evenly matched, and then the apprentice runs away because Ahsoka gets there. She's like, I'm holding my own against Sabine Wren. I'm not gonna be able to take on Ahsoka, let alone the two of them.
Or have her cheat, right?
Like, that too.
Sabine Wren isn't force sensitive very much, or at all. So it's one of those things where you have this whole other side of your combat repertoire that you can use.
Yeah.
Instead of just relying on the saber, and that clean in and out cut, like push her back a couple feet and bail.
Yeah. 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 I thought there was a lot they could have done with that duel that would have made more sense, and I would have liked it a lot more. And not that I didn't like it.
Yeah, it was
just
cool.
Predictable.
It was cool, but I was sitting there going, I was like, yeah, do better.
Yeah.
Like this is worse than when Luke went to go fight Darth Vader in Bespin City.
Yeah.
But good. Okay, so I'm done with my beefs.
That was me too. Good. I was like, it's time to talk about the cool shit.
Rosario Dawson.
Oh,
great.
Yes.
And I like where they're going with bringing in Hera Syndulla.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of having this tie to where Ahsoka's in Fulcrum, but not, she's still in this in-between area with the responsibility of the Republic, trying to get the last remnants of the Empire gone. Yeah. But at the same time, wanting to go chase after Thrawn and still being kind of stuck in this limbo.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that side of things is going well.
Yeah, agreed. I like that you could feel, okay, this is Rebels, right? This is familiar. That's the other thing that I liked was this felt more Star Wars, and nothing, again, everybody knows I enjoyed Andor for the most part. This felt more Star Wars to me than I felt in a while, because like even the opening scene where in the first episode where Baylan Skoll and
screw to ever walk a turn of Shawshank is governor.
Yeah, for real. Well, and I just loved the feel of the walk down with Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, and they're coming out of that ship with their hoods. I was like, this is fucking Star Wars. I was like, this feels right, and I'm glad it felt that way. And even though that episode kind of drug a little bit at times, I was like, this feels good. And then the cool move with Ahsoka spinning the lightsabers, and cutting. I was like, this feels good. It was a lot of cool shit that I was like, this feels familiar. and not since an animated series have I felt like this feels familiar. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Andor felt familiar to Rogue One, but Rogue One didn't feel Star Wars familiar to me. It was like a side story, which is cool. I love that. This felt Star Wars, and I was like, finally, I've got something again that feel, and it felt that way from start to finish. Like, no matter how predictable or how many beefs I had, I'm like, I'm watching Star Wars, and I'm watching the part of Star Wars that I love. Now, to go a little further than that, the other thing that I enjoy is we're doing something that I never thought. Like, I was felt unbalanced as a freak of nature Star Wars fan. I was very unbalanced because we now have a different universe. And I'm like, hold the phone. We've never left, even in the extended universe in the books and stuff. There was only another. There was a group called the Yuzon Vong, and it was for a minute they were from a different universe. Possibly there was a whole different way that story ended, but we've never explored the fact that there's other universes and what does that do. And the games that have been coming out, the Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, have hinted at another race of aliens that brought a different way to manipulate the Force and use the Force with them, which the little map looked, the Zepho or what they called in the games, and it looked very familiar to some things that you see in the game. So I can't guarantee that, but it looked very Zephonian, and I'm like, okay, that could be interesting to connect it to the games that have done very well and have very cool stories. They've already connected it to the games to Obi-Wan with the underground railroad for Jedi. That was part of this most recent game. So now if you connect it to this side of the universe, there's even more connectivity there, which is very interesting. The other thing that's explored a lot in the games are the Night Sisters of Dathomir, which we find out that this bad
Left
chick
Dathomir an awful lot.
Yeah, she is a Night Sister with the green magic, which is also another thing that, like, other than Clone Wars and a little bit in Rebels where they talk about it, and then in this game, Dathomir and the Night Sisters were kind of, and they were powerful because even Palpatine was afraid of their main leader in the Clone Wars. Like, he was afraid, and he wasn't afraid of many people.
Nobody.
He was afraid of her to the point that they wiped the Night Sisters out almost completely. So we're in this like untested ground where there's new shit happening in Star Wars, but it feels Star Wars. And that excites me. Like, I'm like, this is cool. And so I'm really into it. And something that, to add on to something we've talked about in previous Disney Plus shows, especially in the Marvel stuff, I haven't been excited about or like jonesing for the next episode. When the second episode ended yesterday, I was like, God damn it. I need more, and I need it right now because it's just good, and I'm ready to see more. I can't wait.
Where they ended, where they left it, made me want more.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened since, I don't know, Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Over a year ago.
It's been a while.
So, yes. I want more. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the biggest thing that is having me more excited for Ahsoka, is the fact that I am invested in the story. I want to figure out what happens. I can't wait until next Wednesday versus some of the other shows. Like, oh, shoot, it's Wednesday. I guess I got to watch.
It's Tuesday. They moved it up. It's
they
Tuesdays
moved it
now.
Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, it's Tuesdays now.
So
we get to do lives on Wednesdays till Tuesdays.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's Tuesdays at 9 p.m. I think it's Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we don't have to wait till, I don't even have to wait till 10 p.m.
What?
Like I have been. Yeah, like I think I'd have to double check. I know yesterday's episodes came out at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm pretty sure that's the release time moving forward. It's Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. So I'm like, damn. Wow. Yeah, I can't wait. So because normally it was Wednesdays, so I'd have to wait till midnight or 10 p.m. my time to watch it. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Because it's like almost nighttime. And it's nighttime. It's like almost bedtime. I'm like, come on. I'm fucking old. It's almost, stuff hurts. Now I'm like, 9 p.m. That's 7 p.m. my time. This is perfect. So, yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Do you know what else? Okay, there's one more big thing I want to talk about, but before that, like the freaking detonation of those droids. What the fuck are those droids?
Yeah, what were they
wiped out half
packing?
a damn planet. There was like 3 of them. I was like, damn, that shit just keeps going. So that was crazy. The HK droids were really kind of fun to see.
I did like that they had capes for no goddamn reason.
Yeah, this shit's great, isn't it? I loved it. The other thing I love is we had another Rebels voice actor play his character with Clancy Brown when he was able to play Governor Ryder Azadi. Like, I was like, oh, that's dope shit. Like, I love it when they can do stuff like that. Like, that's cool. Yeah. And then again with David Tennant playing Huyang,
which is just hilarious.
Oh, for sure. And he kills it. Like that droid is dope as shit. He's cool in Rebels. He's really cool in this too. Like when he's giving it to Sabine, like that shit was great.
Yeah. And don't forget Chopper.
Oh, Chopper.
Oh, that scene with the tracker.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Easily the most expressive droid in Star Wars. But his little arms he has moving around.
His noises are hilarious. Well, and I love that, like, he's like, have you been going through my stuff?
Yeah, but you can, like, hear that's what he said.
Oh, yeah. He's like, are you sure? And then she says, check under the battery or whatever. And I'm like, she just told you she's been going through your shit. Like, I was so happy to see Chop. Like, he was one of my favorites in Rebels. Like, that, yeah, it was fun. I was laughing my ass off with that shit. The other thing I want to talk about, the big thing, is, I don't know if you've caught it yet, but there's a big connection, or I don't want to say connection, but mirroring of King Arthurian legend going on with this. And it's on the reverse side. So I'll tell you what, it feels like this is Ahsoka's show, but by the time we get to this movie that Dave Filoni's working on, that's going to be the culmination of the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, what was going to be that Rebel pilot show, Rebels, or the, with the 3 Squadron or whatever. Yeah. So we had all these shows that are eventually going to culminate in a movie that's called Heir to the Empire, which, if they follow even the remotely part of the storyline from the trilogy of books called Heir to the Empire, Thrawn is at the center. So you have this, when you think about Arthurian legend, the king that comes back, right? He comes and saves it. That feels like how they're setting up Thrawn. Is he's going to be the Empire's Arthur, right? Coming back, they're searching for him. How do we find the king who was promised? Like, here it is. They have the witches. You have magic. You could even go as far, like they even have some in the names, like the Malak guy. That's a name that's directly out of, there is a character in King Arthur's story that's Malak. It has the exact same name. And then you have the Morgan Elsbeth, which is, I don't think Morgan's a name, but
Morgana Le Fay.
Exactly. His sister is Morgana. So, I mean, we're right there. When you start looking at it, and it's even deeper. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but I recommend go look at the parallels.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But in reverse, right? Because we all root for Arthur. He's the good guy in his story-ish.
More or less.
More or less. Like, he's a pretty moral dude for the most part. In this, though, we see that from the reverse. Makes me feel very like, Empire Strikes Back kind of feel that we're going to be leaning into, right? Kind of excited.
That'd be cool. Do you think we'd see like I don't know if this would be too early, but something similar to the Knights of Ren?
Could be.
As some sort of parallel.
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure, you could definitely wrap that up into. Now, Ren and the Knights of Ren have gotten their own kind of story in the comic book universe lately. Like they've shown a lot of that, but the Knights of Ren have actually, if you look at their history based on the comics and the new story since they've been introduced, go back quite a long ways in the history of Star Wars. They just weren't mainstream until later. So yeah, because their leader was always called the Ren, and then Kylo Ren came in and did his little thing and changed that up a little bit. But yeah, it's weird.
Talk about him.
No, but the one thing that I will say is that Malak character that we see that seems very what were those guys called? That freaking I am losing. Yeah, very Inquisitor like. I feel like that is someone that we know, and a lot of people have said, "Well, it's going to be Ezra." I don't think so. I think Ezra's wherever.
Yeah, with Thrawn.
Because if Thrawn's in a different universe, they didn't hint that Morgan or even the new characters have seen Thrawn or spoken to him previous to this. They're looking for him, which means they're looking in theory for Ezra as well. So with that, what there is a piece of, and this is my wild theory for this, and then we can be done with the episode. There is a part in, like I said, in the Heir to the Empire story, there is a clone that is Jorah Seaboth. There's also a clone of Luke Skywalker in the books called Luke. He's got 2 U's. It's the fucking dumbest thing ever. But
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. But that is a character in this trilogy. I'm wondering, because we've already been introduced to the cloning technology, this guy feels like he's kind of a replacement to Jorah Seaboth, who Luke goes to for some additional teaching, finds out later that he gets cloned. I'm wondering if maybe this Malak character could be a Luke clone. It could be interesting.
It could be. Who's Malak in Arthurian legend?
I know. I haven't dived too far into that. I got to look into that because that might tell us exactly who he is. And he may just be someone that they've run into, right? And so they grabbed a hold of him. But it's cool. It's very cool.
Excellent.
I'm excited. So
Me
many
too.
things that were very Star Wars, like Shin Hati, the apprentice, when she was hunting down Sabine with the little probe
droid.
I was like,
yeah.
God, I feel like I'm watching Maul hunting Anakin all over again.
It was the same kind of viewpoint too, from behind with the hood up. Oh, geez, here we go.
It's great. I love it. I love the mirroring. Because it felt so familiar. So I am thoroughly excited. I can't wait. I did have some small issues, but there's things that I got over so quickly. So I'm with you. I'm so excited for the rest. I can't wait for Tuesdays. And then I can't wait for Wednesdays to talk about it with you because it's
going to be great.
Yep. All right. Well, there it is. Alec, tell everybody where they can find us when they're not hanging out with us live.
Happy to. Thank you for tuning in to episodes 1 and 2 of Ahsoka. I'm so glad they're doing that thing where they release multiple things at the same time. So we'll be going live every week. Be sure to check in for that. And check in Monday on YouTube for a weekly movie release. August was Guilty Pleasures, and we are kicking off September with indie films. Want to get in on the voting? The place to do that is Patreon, where you can suggest film categories and then pick which movies we record from said categories. Special shout out to our current patron, Beta Ray Bill. We appreciate your support and the fun you bring to the pod. With that, I will kick it back to the Titan of Terror, the King of Crash, a JJ.
It's funny. And I was pronouncing his name wrong. It's not Malak, it's Marak. I was confusing my Star Wars characters because there is a Darth Malak. Anyway, so Sir Marak, spelled exactly the same way, has his own book called Sir Marak, A Tale of the Days of King Arthur. So now I'm going to have to read this fucking book.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to see what it is.
I just read a little synopsis of it. It looks like this was a good knight who went bad. So,
there it is.
Go figure.
Interesting. I know, the guy's too fucking smart, and I love it. All right, well, there it is. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!